you've done is you've set your brain up to have too much carbohydrate, too much serotonin production, which makes you tired within an hour or two, and makes your energy drop, and makes you crave another sugar to bring it back up. This even plays a role in all the excessive antidepressants that are used in the U.S. You know, how many people here have family members or someone who's taking antidepressants? And they can't, and they never really look at their diet and the role that their brain chemistry plays in all of this. And so when you eat too much sugar in the morning and your serotonin goes excessively up, homeostasis kicks in, and you know what it does? It wipes it out because you have too much of it. It tries to bring it into balance. The effect of having too little serotonin or too much is the same. You have anxiety from it. And so you end up maybe in an office and you get a pill for a serotonin uptake inhibitor. All it does is maybe balance out the amount you have so you feel a little bit differently. But the reality is if you trained your brain differently first thing in the morning, you might not be able to, or even have the desire to actually use one of those things. It still all goes back to how am I treating my brain every morning? How do I set it up for success and get rid of this excessive use of a class of foods that you really don't have that much use for? And that is too many carbs, too much sugar, things that turn into sugar instantly. And you do that by giving your brain what it actually wants first thing in the morning, and that's protein. Your brain wants something that it can make dopamine out of, which is just another neurotransmitter that controls your cravings for sweets. It controls your ability to actually experience pleasure. And it focuses your brain and makes you more creative and actually puts you in control of the part of your brain that overrides your stress response. Now, doesn't that sound like a really good thing to do? And all it basically is giving it the food it wants first thing in the morning. When you eat a protein food, and I'm talking about protein with hardly any carb in it, preferably when you're starting to get rid of sugar cravings, no carbs at all. And what happens is your brain takes out an amino acid called tyrosine. It goes directly up in your brain, turns on dopamine, the neurotransmitter I talked about, and it immediately boosts your brain up. It's almost like booting up your computer in the morning. You turned it on and powered it up, and now it's ready to process information. And if you give it a pure protein food every morning, it'll stay in that position for almost the entire day. And you know, the funny thing about protein is that very few Americans have a lack of protein in their diet. The problem is they don't eat it as a pure food first thing in the morning. And so they train their brain first thing with too much carb, which sets it up for sugar cravings. And then after that, it doesn't matter what protein you eat all day, it will not change that set point that you created in the morning. So this is all about creating a type of energy first thing in the morning that will set your brain up for success. And if you do this for 7 days, almost everybody will lose their cravings for sugar. Now, along with that protein meal, what you want to do, if you're somebody out there that, you know, and this is not a joke or it's not really making it up, because most of you know this experience. You have candy bars in your desk, you have them in your purse, you have them in your car, you have cookies under your desk. All these little things by which you have access to carbohydrates and breads. You know, I don't know how many people tell me, oh, how can I do without bread, right? When someone says that, you know they're addicted to sugar, because bread breaks down into sugar really quickly, and their brain is actually not able to make decisions about the food that they eat. You know, it's really hard to stay on a diet if you haven't done the protein thing for a while, because the part of your brain that is in control of conscious decisions isn't turned on fully. Because when you don't have enough dopamine first thing in the morning, that part of your brain, the frontal lobe, right here, that controls your stress response, isn't fully engaged. And so the next decision you make while you're stressed is different. The next decision you make about the next meal you make is different. All these things are influenced by simply what you ate that morning. I've had countless people tell me after 7 days of this diet that they've completely lost their cravings for sugar. Now that person doesn't know it, but he's also lowered his chance of ever having a heart attack. He's lowered his chance of ever getting high blood pressure. developing all these major diseases because he controlled one simple thing. Because your sugar cravings and the inflammation from consuming it is the root cause of all of those illnesses. So now that if you want to do it, you want to go on this program, here's how it actually works. You have that pure protein in the morning. Let's say you get up and you have a drink. You might get hungry an hour later. You might get hungry 4 hours later. It all depends on your state of your health and how bad your sugar is. But the next meal that you eat, try to make it at least an hour or two. And don't worry about getting hungry, because when you get hungry after eating protein, it's not the same hunger as the hunger you get after eating sugar. It's more of a controlled hunger where you just know you're hungry and you're going to eat something, right? And you have to have a plan as to what that next something is going to be. That next something for 7 days should just be vegetables along with another protein. You can have a chicken breast, you can have turkey, you can have a hamburger by itself. You can have any meat that you want, along with all the vegetables you want. You can have a salad, you can have plates of steamed vegetables. You do not have to count the calories. You just want to look at the type of food you're eating and consume it. And stay off of all bread and all grains for 7 days. And the reason for that is that most grains that you eat, especially breads, just turn to sugar instantly. All you're doing is playing into the sugar fix. And I can tell half the people in the room are going, oh no, I can never go without bread. And all it is, you should just think right now, my brain is addicted to sugar. Because that's what it basically is saying. You're addicted to that because it's so easy. It goes right in your system and it gives you this little lick. But if you could go 7 days without any grains, you're going to lick the whole sugar craving. And then you can add some grains back in. You can have whole grains like quinoa, you can have brown rice, you can eat bread. Just don't do it excessively and see if it affects the way you feel and changes your blood sugar issue. You only have to measure your blood sugar if you're pre-diabetic or diabetic, or pay that much attention to it. If you're trying to lose a lot of weight, just do without the grains and try to do it for at least 2 weeks. The 2-week thing is the magic number for everybody, just so you know. You can get rid of sugar cravings in 7 days, but if you can do it for 2 weeks, which is not that hard if you go through the first 7 days, because your brain will already be changed after 7 days to where you don't crave sugar the same. You don't look at it the same, and you don't get as stressed out because your brain has turned on a part of it that controls your response to stress. When you eat a lot of sugar and you get into a stressful situation, your behavior is very wavery. It just does, you're not grounded and you're not really in charge. And once you go through the protein thing, everybody in this room will be able to tell you that they felt differently in their stressful situation and they had more control because a different part of the brain turned on. So, if you can go the whole 2-week thing, now you've done a magical thing to your system. And that magical thing is you've just changed your metabolism to go from a sugar-burning person to a fat-burning machine. And that's what you want to do. And that is the key to all dieting. Because you know what? You're not actually programmed to burn sugar for energy. You're just doing it because you give your body so much sugar. And it doesn't know what else to do with it. Right? So insulin is working all day long. Your pancreas is getting overworked all day long when it was actually not programmed to do that. Insulin was originally developed in your system to store fat for the winter because you weren't going to have any carbs all winter, right? It wasn't meant to be turned on all day long to get rid of the sugar that you're flooding your system with. So if you could go 2 weeks without eating grains, not drinking any juice, don't even eat any fruit for 2 weeks, just eat all the vegetables you want, all the salads, steamed vegetables, and proteins you want. And what will happen is your body will have to throw off all this stored fat that's in your cells, and you just start burning it for fuel. The triglycerides you have will just burn up for fuel, because triglycerides are simply fats that your body couldn't metabolize because you have too much sugar in your system. A lot of people don't understand this about triglycerides. They're really just fatty acids or fats from your food that you cannot metabolize because there's too much sugar there. Your body can't burn both for energy at the same time. And what is the problem with everybody? They have sugar in their system excessively all the time, so they never burn their fat. This whole idea that you can't have animal fat in your diet, everything has to be completely lean and trimmed and everything, has never had any scientific evidence that that's true ever. It's the same way with eggs. You know, there's never been a study ever done in history that showed that eggs raise your cholesterol. It's never happened. I remember 10 years ago or so reading an article about a farmer in Africa who walked 5 miles to work and back every day. And because he was so poor and he worked on a chicken farm, all he ate was eggs. He ate 2 dozen eggs a day. His cholesterol was 140. Right? What does that tell you? You know, I've had personal experiences. There's probably not everybody in this room has heard my egg story. And since everybody loves it so much, I think I'll tell it. Everybody loves my egg story. Back when I was a triathlete, I went and had my cholesterol checked, and it was 100. Right? But I also had inflammation in my liver. And I didn't understand that at the time. People thought maybe I had hepatitis, right? I didn't have hepatitis. And so I started studying cholesterol and found out that if you have cholesterol below 150 and you turn 60, that you actually have a 10 to 20% higher chance of having a aneurysm in your brain and just falling over dead because you have too little cholesterol. So I decided at that time, because I didn't eat eggs at that time, and I was working out a lot, that I was going to do an experiment with cholesterol, and I knew I was going to get my cholesterol checked in 8 days. Again, because I was going to a seminar where you do all these things for everybody. So I decided to try the whole egg series. So I ate 7 dozen eggs for the next 7 days. And I hadn't eaten any eggs for a year, right? Wow. So, and I don't know if you know this, but if you wake up every morning and have a cheese and egg omelet with 6 eggs in it, by the time afternoon rolls around, you got to eat 6 more eggs. It's almost impossible to do that without mayonnaise.
Without mayonnaise.
This is what I found. So at the end of that week, I have had 84 eggs and a whole quart of mayonnaise.
Oh my God.
Went in and had my cholesterol checked. You know what it was? 100. It never moved 1 point. Started this whole idea of questioning what cholesterol was about and how it metabolizes in the system and what it is in relationship. And you know, and it's really just about the fact that if you're healthy, your body it makes most of your own cholesterol anyway. But if you're healthy, your liver processes it, and it's a whole different food. So you eat junk and you have all this sugar in your system, your body can't metabolize fat and it becomes a problem. It increases the production of its own cholesterol in relationship to the sugar you consume. Because the sugar causes so much inflammation in your arteries that it uses cholesterol to actually fix the liver. So if you lower the sugar, your body naturally lowers the cholesterol. That's kind of useful. Right? It's a protective mechanism in your system. But nobody looks at changing their diet and letting the cholesterol go away. And so, very interesting. Funny thing, last May I was in Paris, and I met with a doctor there who is considered the Einstein of nutrition of all things. Right? He's written 700 published papers in medical journals. And the idea of cholesterol came up, and you know what he told me? He goes, well, we don't have that problem because everybody knows that your cholesterol is too high. You just eat 2 raw egg yolks every day for a week and it makes sense. Right? And I just started laughing because it actually is true. Raw egg yolks will lower your cholesterol. Because it's so much less than it emulsifies your fat. Your brain actually loves raw egg yolks. It's one of the best foods to go to person. But we don't eat it there. We just like to take fat. But the reality is, it's the sugar issue that prevents you from actually enjoying those foods and enjoying some animal proteins or a little fat, and you can't metabolize it because you're still eating the sugar. This is what brings you back to how to change that. In 2 weeks of just having no carbs and grains, you have protein every morning, your metabolism switches completely over to burning fat. And now you burn fat as an energy source, and you can increase all the great fats in the diet and use raw, uncooked olive oil, coconut oil, all these things that are beneficial for you, just like your MCTs and liver are beneficial fats in your brain and sugar. You can add that to your diet and you just burn type 1 diabetic that I just contacted me through the internet, that I gave her the same program. Actually, what I told her was that really mad at me. So they actually said to me, Roger, I'm so excited about vegan. I'm going to get rid of my type 1 diabetes in 3 years. I don't care what it takes. Why you email me back to me? Why are you going to take so long? I can do it in 3 weeks or more. Right? I typed out the whole diet to her. I get a nasty email back saying how rude it was, and I don't have fasting cells, and I'm all this right. So I just decided that I was going to email. So I get another one 4 weeks later, but then I don't know who the same person is. So I open up the email, right? And it says, Roger, I actually did what you told me, which I was shocked that I didn't tell the person. And then I actually read it, and the lady goes, I'm off all medication for 4 weeks. Right? Type 1 diabetes. How could that possibly be? Because if you're not eating sugar all the time, you find carbs, your body doesn't need to produce very much insulin at all to be able to run. Insulin is not required in metabolized fat. It's not required in metabolized protein. You can have all the carbs you want from vegetables, they hardly raise your blood sugar enough to do anything to you. One of the dangers of every meal that you eat, I might have mentioned this earlier, but I want to mention it again for the same thing. I might not have. I've given another lecture in another office. But the reality is that every meal, we now know, think about this for heart disease, that with every meal that you eat, if your blood sugar goes up 50 points from resting, which is around 90 for most people, if you ate a meal that raises it 50 points, until your body clears that out, it takes 2 to 3 hours, you have double your chance of having a stroke or a heart attack. Now think about all the people you know and how they eat. Fast food people, the things that lettuce on a burger that can't be out of the window or the drive up with a vegetable, right? Those people spend 9 hours a day with a double chance of having a heart attack or stroke because their blood sugar is way too high and consuming soda pop and sugar all day long. And yet by controlling that one simple thing, by changing the time of day, you give yourself a particular food, you can get rid of that sugar craving, you can make more conscious, clear decisions about everything you eat after a month just because you change the time of day you put something and what people food you actually put in your body. And once you do that, you're going to be shocked at how much willpower you have and how much that willpower actually carries over into the other things you do. How you have more energy at work. You're not afraid to make that phone call. You're not afraid to do these other things because your brain and your whole system is more grounded and you boot it up. The frontal lobe of your brain controls your stress response. And your whole system starts to change. I talked earlier about how that was the biggest improvement in my diet and how it actually changed my entire system where I had more energy. I was no longer having sugar cravings. I literally do not have sugar cravings at all anymore. And how my body turns into a fat-burning machine. In fact, I joke, everybody hates this story. I'm going to tell it anyway. Because I am real thin, right? And I was obese at one time. I lost 125 pounds. But I have changed my metabolism from changing my morning meal to the point now that if I skip one meal, I'll sometimes burn 1 or 2 pounds every single night that I do. I lose 3 pounds when I go to the nuclear now. Because I've lost my diet, I don't have access to as much food as I like to eat and as much to eat. Food is my hobby, right? I love to cook, I love to eat. I like to do them both at the same time. The reality is, because my body burns fat too efficiently, and I have about 45 to 50% of my calories as fat, but it's all good fat, coconut oil, raw nuts, avocados, that raw olive oil on my salad, things like that. I don't shy away from it at all. And because of that, if I don't eat enough at night, I literally will melt at night because my body just burns fat as an energy source. I actually have a bathroom scale at home to tell me how much I weigh, to tell me how many meals I can eat that day. Because I might have lost 2 pounds, I need to make it up in the next couple days. So then I make a mental note, I better eat 4 meals today, right? Or I better eat a lot of stuff while, at night, so I just have more energy. And most people think that's insane, they've never heard of that. But if I don't have a bathroom scale, one day I'll get up and I'll notice I've lost 3 notches on my belt. I have to tighten up because I just burn fat so efficiently. And that's what you're programmed to do. Everybody in this room can change their system within 30 days. Within 90 days, you could lose all the weight you'd ever want to lose. Your entire system would be functioning differently. Your brain would be functioning differently. And every single person you know could be coming up and asking you for advice, right? Because they want to know what you did and what you changed in your system. And it's all as simple as a protein food first thing in the morning that sets your brain up for success. Are we going to open up for questions?